President Bola Ahmed Tinubu recalled all Nigerian ambassadors over 18 months ago. As of now, no new appointments have been made, leaving embassies across the globe without substantive heads. Now, while lower-level diplomatic staff continue day-to-day operations, they lack the authority and access needed to engage in high-level negotiation. In short, the recall without replacement has created a diplomatic and economic bottleneck. Well, joining me to discuss this is Bamidele Ayemibo. He is the lead consultant of 3T Impex Consulting. I also have a Professor Jalili Adebi, is a development scholar. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having us on the show today.
All right, let me start with you, Mr. Ayemibo. Up to now, I mean, every country, has a, what I call it, diplomatic representation across the globe. But in the case of Nigeria, as of now, in terms of its leadership, there seems to be a vacancy as regards ambassadors, even though we know that staff, that work across the various embassies are there. But how much of a, if I put it in any way, are we at any diplomatic risk?
I won't call it risk, I will call it a disadvantage, actually. If you look at what happened in the US recently, between April 1st, during the declaration day of Trump, and August, 90 days window, a lot of negotiation happened that made a change or shift in the tariff of the US for a number of countries around the world. That was only made possible because they have an ambassador in the US who is able to gain easy access to the White House and be able to have the right conversation as soon as possible. High-level conversation. So it's a disadvantage, in my opinion, particularly for countries for which we need such kind of conversation, such kind of relationship. Maybe that's also why we have not even done much, because it was 14% April 1, and it's still 14%, because I'm not sure any conversation really went on regarding our tariff with the US because of this issue. So for me, I think it's a disadvantage, and a lot of disadvantages they'll probably talk about in the course of the conversation.
All right, I would also pose the same question to Professor Adebi. He said it's not a risk, but a disadvantage. Do you think this is the case? Is Nigeria, in the global space, somewhat vulnerable as a result of this gap?
Yeah, thank you so much. For the information of our viewer, there was a time in my career that I was a member of a Nigerian diaspora organization, worldwide board member. I was a member of the worldwide chapter. And that was by virtue of my position as the secretary of the Nigerian Diaspora Organization, Malaysia. And that gave me the significant opportunity to understand the inner workings of the Nigeria embassies abroad. One of the things I appreciated and I came to really, really understand about them is how much of the time they spend establishing not just this diplomatic relationship with the host country, but mobilizing businesses from the host country to Nigeria. It's something that they do a lot. And by virtue of my experience, by virtue of my inner house knowledge of how the process unfolded back in the days, I knew that there were high-level engagements that only the ambassador could lead. So that's meaning that if you do not have ambassadors, abroad, what that means is that some of these lower staff that would potentially step in their roles may not be able to hold such high-level conversation. And the other thing I also came to know is that within the diplomatic, ecosystem, there is a lot of hierarchies. Hierarchies are respected. And what that means is that your hierarchy might actually determine whether you be allowed opportunity to be part of certain salient conversation. because when you look at the structure of a foreign embassy, you come to realize that they have what they call the ministers in charge of education.
All right.
At least based on my experience back in the days. They have a minister in charge of trade relationship. They have a minister in charge of foreign relationship. We don't just have a foreign mission. It's part of the diplomatic structure.
All right. So sorry, Professor Adebi, because I know we are really trying to, of course, manage time. You've sort of given us, you know, a purview of what the structure is like, but that will take us to the conversation of the crop of persons that, you know, lead the diplomatic envoy across, you know, the nations, you know, of the world. For some Nigerians, they feel that, unfortunately, they are mostly political appointees, maybe not technocrats per se, who understand, you know, the process and the magnitude of that role, but political appointees who are just given these positions, you know, as compensation for their support, you know, maybe during elections or loyalty, so to speak. So I'd like you to sort of talk on the crop of diplomats or ambassadors that we've had over the years, because one of their key roles is to also bring in investment, ensure that there are strong economic ties, sell the country, you know, positively and all. But we know what the stats are saying in terms of how some Nigerians and their experience, you know, at the embassies across some countries. So what's your take on this, the crop of persons or appointments?
Yeah, I would disagree with that conclusion. Because we have the career diplomat, they are trained, and when they post a politician, a political appointee is appointed as an ambassador, he doesn't just operate as an individual. He leverages the expertise, it leverages the experience of those that are trained as career diplomats, and they work together as an ecosystem based to the extent of my knowledge in Malaysia. And in fact, when I got to Malaysia, one of the things we got to know was that Ambassador Dosunmu, who happened to be been posted to Malaysia at a point in time, was regarded as the best among those that held that same position. When I was there, Ambassador Peter Anegbe was the ambassador, was in charge of Indonesia, was in charge of Malaysia.
All right.
And when we started comparing notes about the performance of Anegbe versus Ambassador Dosunmu, Dosunmu was highly rated in terms of performance more than Anegbe. And in fact, I had to take on Anegbe and ensure that he was sent back to Nigeria. When he came back to Nigeria, he later became a commissioner under the leadership of Governor Adams Oshiomhole.
All right.
So it all depends on the individuals. It all depends on whether the individual is able to humble himself or herself and work with those that are trained and professionals in this particular arena.
All right. I'll come back to you, Professor Adebi. I'll come back to you, please. Just let me, of course, direct my next question to Mr. Ayemibo. Mr. Ayemibo, let's also look at Nigeria and its global image, you know, across the world. I mean, to a very large extent, some Nigerians will tell you that it's not at par, it's not, you know, the best of image. Even traveling across to other countries, the way Nigerians are treated, you know, at airports, at entry points, you know, there seems to be some sort of discrimination. And once they see the green passport or they hear you're from Nigeria, there's a certain perception. Do you think our embassies out there are doing well enough to sort of manage this situation and put the country in good light?
I'm not sure that's the job of the embassy. I think it's the job right from home. The embassy can step in to support where required, but we
as much as as much as it's not the job of the embassy, they also have a stake in this. If there are issues, for instance, with Americans in Nigeria, the first point is usually the embassy. But some Nigerians will tell you that might not be the case, you know, for them, maybe when they are stranded in other countries. So I think the embassy is to have a role to play in this.
No, you are talking about someone at the airport showing a green passport, being profiled.
That's just a scenario I gave.
In fact, it's different from the way they are treated within the country. I'm talking about when you get to an embassy, you get to the border post of a country, they see your green passport and your profile. I've been to a number of countries, and the way we're treated was not very nice. At the airport, not inside the country, at the airport. And the reason is simple, because of the history of our people passing through that border. So for me, I don't think we have control over that. If our brothers are, in fact, I had an experience in China some time ago. I think we enter from Kunming, from Thailand into Kunming, and the only thing they didn't do is to strip us naked. They checked everything, including the visa they gave us in Nigeria. They will finish, they'll come and check again. They put us inside the gadget, spinning the gadget. When they finish, they have to apologize. Now, on that flight, it was predominantly Asians, mainly Chinese and Thailand nationality. Only 2 blacks, myself and the client that we went together to China. And they had to apologize to us afterwards. And they made a statement. They said, it is because of the experience of our brothers in West Africa. That was their exact word. They said, sorry,
I need to get that correctly. You said in West Africa. So they were not specific about the country.
That was the word they used, West Africa. That was the word they used, in West Africa. Now, but where I'm going is, there was an experience that made them to behave that way. An embassy cannot stop that. When we got into the country, we were not treated that way. We were well received in the hotel everywhere we went to. But at the border post, to enter the country, because of previous experiences. So I think that we need to fix that ourselves. Sincerely, we need to fix that. And if we don't fix that, it's just going to get worse. I know some embassy can be overbearing, because I've also been in Ethiopia airport, and the way we're treated, and it's also African, but it wasn't funny. But where I'm going is that I don't think the embassy have control over that. Now, if a Nigerian have an issue within the country, I think they need to. Now, let me say something about what the prof talked about. I like the second response of Prof to the specific about the ambassador in question, because not all of them behave that way. I've had an experience with ambassador in Cote d'Ivoire. It wasn't a good experience at all. They were supposed to promote trade, right? We came into Cote d'Ivoire. There was an issue they had with the Nigerian we work with in Cote d'Ivoire, but because of the issue they have with the Nigerian in Cote d'Ivoire, you know all that they needed to support to get the goods for trade. It was a trade mission. It was a made in Nigerian exhibition in Cote d'Ivoire, and they did not support. In fact, they withdrew whatever support they've given before. The goods coming in, we had to pay duty in Cote d'Ivoire, which they were using diplomatic means to get those goods out, because they were not meant for sale. They were meant for exhibition in Cote d'Ivoire. And we're asking ourselves, these are supposed to be Nigerians in Cote d'Ivoire who is supposed to support businesses entering Cote d'Ivoire, but they didn't do that.
All right.
So it will have a fantastic experience that Prof had in Malaysia with the other ambassador. But I can say for a fact, in fact, I'm of the opinion that the president, in appointing ambassador now, should give them a matching order. In a year, if you don't double Nigerian trade with the country in terms of export volume from wherever you met it, then you should resign and leave.
All right.
If you are not going to add value to Nigeria abroad, then there's
all right,
no point being in that.
Mr. Bamidele Ayemibo, we need to go on a quick break. When we return, we'll be taking our final thoughts on this. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television. Let me come back to my guest. Now, I would just like you to give your final thoughts in 30 seconds, Professor Adebi, in terms of should the president choose to appoint new ambassadors to represent the country. In bullet points, 30 seconds, please. What should be the criteria? What should be their matching order?
I think it is high time the decision is taken. For many reasons. One was taken for many reasons. One, it is important because we are facing enormous trade challenges, especially in the era of tariff being imposed by President Trump. This is disrupting a lot of trade relationship among countries and between countries. So I think it is important that Mr. President makes this decision on time. And the other thing is also related to security issues, because another issue that these embassies, they also get involved in is that they facilitate the process of exchanging high-level security information. They don't want to do this with the ranks and file within a diplomatic corps. And that is why it is important for the president to also consider the fact that these embassies, they will also assist us to go a long way in addressing some of the security challenges that we might be facing internationally.
All right, thank you so much. Professor Adebi, thank you so much. We are really trying to manage time. But let me quickly take your final thoughts. Mr. Ayemibo.
In as much as politicians need to reward whoever it is that have supported them to come into office, as far as the diplomatic, as far as the empowerment of ambassador is concerned, the criteria should be such that we are choosing either politician or career diplomat who will be able to increase Nigerian trade with the host country, meaning they need to be given a target of what they must achieve within a year or two of being in that position, such that at the end of the day, we can see the impact of their work abroad with what is coming back as income or investment back at home. This is very important because we already have lost a lot of ground because they are not there. Now that they are coming in, it shouldn't be business as usual. It should be such that they have a target and that must be reviewed just like the one they have for the minister and ensure that anybody not meeting up with its head target should be relieved of the job they have given to them.
All right, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you on the program this evening. Thank you for your time. Bamidele Ayemibo, lead consultant, 3T Impacts consultant, and also Professor Jalilia Devi, development scholar. Gentlemen, once again, thank you for your time. Well, this is where we drop the curtains on today's episode. In case you missed out, you can catch up on our YouTube platform. That's at News Central TV. You can also choose to follow us on social media. The handle is there on your screen. You can choose to follow me personally at Dapo at Digboy. Until I come your way again tomorrow, good night.